Batman Arkham Asylum, developed by Rocksteady and released back in 2009, is an action-adventure game that has you playing as the legendary Dark Knight who's trying to stop the Joker taking over the whole island. The game received critical acclaim, winning several awards, and a sequel was already in development. In this video, I've put together as many references, Easter eggs, and any other points of interest I could find. And if you do enjoy this video, then please show your support and click that like button and subscribe to the SalopianGamer channel if you're interested in seeing more content like this. Now it's time to escort the Joker to his cell and hopefully call it a night. In the intro cutscene, before the Batmobile speeds past the screen, you can see the name Paulie's Diner. This is a reference to Paul Dini, who wrote the stories of both Arkham Asylum and City, as well as the 90s animated series, and the co-creator of Harley Quinn. The game throws the player into the story as if it's almost finished, which of course isn't really the case, and right at the start of gameplay, you can approach each of the guards who will key you in to the events leading up to the game, if you wanted a bit of context, which is a nice little investigative touch by Rocksteady.
What happened in the mayor's office? I heard he tied the mayor to a bomb.
I heard what happened with the mayor. News said Joker tried to blow up City Hall. Should have waited till it was full.
One fun thing to do in any game is to go off script and see what happens, and there's plenty of chances to do it here in this one. Just walk away from escorting the Joker, and he'll call out to the Batman.
Hey, Slowpoke! Get over here! I'm missing you already! Hey, Bats! You just stay where you are. I'll be fine with these guys. We're just like family. Oh, come on, Bats! Can't you keep up? Do you need a trolley too?
Seen throughout Arkham Asylum are mugshots of the game developers, pretending to be crazy Arkham patients. Also seen throughout the asylum is this piece of paper written by Joker. It says, "Dear Sir Madam, I'm writing to inform you that your relative is loopy and will be confined to an inhumane floating cage in some crazy dungeon. You have no legal recourse in this decision and may be liable for all costs incurred for the treatment of your psychotic family member. Best regards from all of us at Arkham Asylum Rehabilitation Services. Have a nice day. The Joker and Pals." Signed, Professor J. Southgate. On entering the processing corridor for the first time, you can see on the monitors the Blackgate prisoners escaping from their cells. But these images are not on a loop. If you wait long enough, you'll see one of the prisoners approach the camera and destroy it. While we're in this corridor, I thought I might give this a mention, but how many different alarm signs do you need? Especially in one passageway. Just listen to this. In the patient pacification chamber, the player has to learn some of the basic moves in Predator mode, such as grappling onto gargoyles and takedowns. But you can, once again, go off script and allow Zsasz to recover. He will then take out his blades for a one-on-one fight in which Zsasz says some unique dialogue.
I need a new mark. I'll kill you, Batman. You will bleed for locking me up here.
Returning to the processing corridor, where Eddie Burlow finally gets the door to open, try to go back along the passage, and you'll be stopped by Harley Quinn.
Oh no you don't, Mr. B-Man. We're in control now.
Yet another thing that can be seen throughout the game is this newspaper article showing the face of a Rocksteady developer as an Arkham patient, and the title that reads "Maniac Behind Bars After 45 Years Police Trail." The office in the transfer loop corridor has a poster as part of the Riddler's Trophy challenges. On it is the name of the Penguins club called Iceberg Lounge, an infamous location for his nefarious activities and features prominently in the Batman lore and is an explorable location in Arkham City. A funny thing you can do once the Riddler introduces himself is to get him angry. To do this, wait for him to deliver the first riddle, then do nothing, though you will have to eventually scan the painting to progress. Riddler will slowly grow more angry the longer you take.
First one? Good. But be careful. Don't cut yourself on this sharply observed portrait. I said, don't cut yourself on this sharply observed portrait. You know, portrait, painting, picture on the wall, in a frame. Warden, Sharp, that old guy who runs the place, in a painting, on the wall.
There are some parts of the game that change with the passage of time, and the most obvious one is the clock tower on the Arkham Mansion. Each time Batman exits a major location, you can see that the time has moved forwards. There's one area that's always baffled me, and it's this location you can glide to from the clock tower. It is a reachable location, yet hidden enough to be a great location for a Riddler trophy, and yet, there's nothing here. It feels like Rocksteady had forgot about this location and just decided to dump this trophy here. On Gordon's trail, you can start the ongoing visitations to the Joker at the visitor center of the penitentiary, where the clown talks to Batman via a TV placed on a mannequin. But if you pay close attention, by looking away briefly, then looking back, you'll see that the mannequin has changed positions. Given that, and the fact that detective mode is disabled is a clue that the real Joker was there all along. But if that's the case, then why do two mannequins move here, or even disappear? It's enough to give you the chills.
There were these two guys in a lunatic asylum. Oh, hell, you've heard that one before, haven't you?
This line is a reference from the comic The Killing Joke, that was written by Alan Moore, in which the Joker tells it to Batman at the end of the story, and even gets Batman to laugh. Apart from the visible suit damages and injuries to Batman, you can see another difference on him. On a closer look, his clean-shaven face will eventually grow stubbles through the course of the game. In the sanatorium of the medical building, you can find a couple of jars with severed heads in them. These were originally meant to be another enemy type that would be wearing a straitjacket and wielding a weapon with one free hand. But this design was eventually scrapped and their appearance is only seen here. All over Arkham Island are images of beetles. This is a nod toward the graphic novel Serious House on Serious Earth, where a young Amadeus Arkham sees his own mother eating beetles, believing it would protect her from evil spirits. It's later in Arkham's life that he finds out that they're a symbol of rebirth and took on this symbol in the construction of the first asylum. In the upper corridors, on the way to rescuing the doctors, you can view on this TV an advertisement about Arkham Care. Although this was a fictional website, it had an actual website back in 2009 that you could visit as part of the game's promotional marketing. After rescuing the doctor in the surgery room, head to the upper floor to find a whiteboard. It's a Riddler challenge that will reveal a bio for the character Hush, but on a closer look, there are other details. Two of Dr. Elliot's patients were the villains Mad Hatter and Firefly. Dr. Young's patient was Clayface, and Dr. Cassidy, who's had previous encounters with Victor Zsasz, had the Great White Shark as her patient. A running gag happens to the Joker henchman Razor, whereby he's first seen in patient observation dangling from a rope above Joker Toxin. He's later seen with clown face paint placing bombs on a gargoyle that Joker then triggers to test them, and he still survives. It's only in Arkham City do we learn of Razor's fate in yet another incident that befell him. Still in patient observation, this message above the window shows the name Cloney. Though it's a popular belief that this refers to Batman actor George Clooney, it probably refers to Paul Clooney, who was the cinematics FX artist on the game. Another Riddler challenge can be found nearby. Next to Firefly's flamethrower are newspaper clippings of the villain, and there are other mentions too. Roman Sionis, who will later be seen in the sequels, is the Black Mask, and the Injustice Gang even gets a mention, who are a supervillain team that Scarecrow and Poison Ivy were both members of. When Batman succumbs to the Scarecrow's fear toxin, it offers the player an insight into what he's most afraid of. The most obvious one, and the main driving force of why he became Batman, was his guilt over the murder of his parents, that he believed he could have prevented if he tried to save them. Another insight is the death of his greatest ally, Jim Gordon. This wasn't done for just dramatic effect, this is a genuine fear of losing his best friend. Though, I'm not really sure if Bruce has an irrational fear of bugs. Shouldn't that be bats? And here, we can see that part of Batman does fear that he's no more different than the lunatics he locks up in the asylum. Upon entering the experimental chamber, Joker will set out rules for Batman in his next challenge against him, but you can skip ahead to cut Joker's dialogue short and get a response for your impatience.
So here's the deal. If you could find a way to get to Harley without anyone realizing, I'll give you your next present. So here's the deal. If you could find a way to get to Harley without anyone realizing, I'll give you. Maybe you don't care about the old man after all.
The bear on the table is linked to Bane's childhood. He was born in a prison to serve out his dead father's sentence, where his only friend and comfort in the worst hell on earth was this teddy bear named Osoito.
I will break you this time, Batman!
During the short encounter with Bane in the game, he mentions breaking the bat several times. This refers to the storyline Nightfall, where Bane releases all the Arkham inmates to force Batman into catching them all and without rest wearing him down to the point of exhaustion, where Bane makes his move and breaks Batman's back. This also plays out in this scene if Bane defeats the player.
The bat is broken!
As you progress through the game, the wall outside the Visitor Center eventually takes the form of the Joker's face. This is another reference from A Serious House on Serious Earth, as the entrance looks similar to the front cover of the graphic novel. In the Batcave are Wayne Tech boxes that need to be moved to progress with the story. Though you're meant to use the newly acquired Batclaw to do it, note that there is a unique animation only seen here. Batman can kick the boxes over the side. This is curious and makes you wonder if the developers had other plans for using this animation before scrapping it, because this is never seen again. Hanging by chains and covered up is the Batwing. This is the same one that is used later to acquire the line launcher, and on returning to the Batcave later on, it will no longer be there. There is an easily missed cutscene with Killer Croc in the old sewer passage. By going right at the junction toward the door, which is the opposite direction the marker on the map has indicated to follow, then Batman will be met by angry threats.
I will find you. Rip your flesh like paper.
Harley Quinn's old office has several points of interest. On this mannequin head is her old Harlequin headwear from the 90s animated series. And strewn over the table are magazines with various titles, including another mention on Penguin's Iceberg Lounge, and Gordon locating the second Injustice Gang hideout, which refers to Lex Luthor's second Injustice Gang that he formed. Amongst the magazines is a medical record belonging to the villain Prometheus, and it looks like Harley stamped it with a pass. Did Harley turn by then, and has been deliberately releasing non-reformed criminals back onto the streets?
Patient interview 1. Patient was referred to me after the incident with Dr. Murphy. He appears to have suffered.
The first patient interview tape you can listen to in the Arkham Mansion, belonging to the Scarecrow, refers to a Dr. Murphy and a Dr. Combs, who are both actors who play the Scarecrow. Cillian Murphy in Batman Begins and Jeffrey Combs in the new Batman adventures.
Step away from Dr. Combs! Now! Get down on the ground! We found them. Someone get a medic. Oh God, what's he done to him?
In the morgue room outside Dr. Young's office is the body of Ra's al Ghul. It's another Riddler trophy challenge, and nothing really happens once you scan the toe tag. However, continue with the game long enough and return later, you'll find the body missing and the toe tag is now on the floor. Just like before in the experimental chamber, you can go off piece and get a head start of the Joker's 2-minute countdown plot. By making your way up toward the huge chandelier instead of checking on the hostages first, Joker will respond to this action.
Congratulations! Now we're going to take a stroll downstairs and save the helpless hostage. Reading the last page first? Shame on you! Well, here's the punchline. 2 minutes and the newscast goes boom, permanently cheering up those miserable doctors.
On the giant tower bell, it says Arkham Asylum, April 1st, 1922. This is the date that marked Amadeus' descent into madness, as on this day, he strapped Martin Mad Dog Hawkins into a gurney and electrocuted him to death, after he brutally murdered Arkham's wife and daughter. One secret nobody discovered until Rocksteady had to reveal it months later is hidden behind a false wall in the Warden's office. You can't even see the destructible wall in detective mode. After applying the explosive gel 3 times and finally passing through, you can find on the wall a development plan for Arkham City and 2 pieces of concept artwork by Rocksteady for the sequel. Found in the central areas of the penitentiary are Latin inscriptions on the walls. These are what they say: nobody is above the law, death is certain, its hour uncertain. An act does not render a man guilty of a crime unless his mind is equally guilty. Not in one's right mind. Man is a wolf to his fellow man. Save yourself from hell. In the Green Mile chamber, Poison Ivy's cell is surrounded by signs on the floor, stating that having plants around the woman is prohibited. In the security control room is one of the few inmates the Joker never freed. If you were wondering who this is, well, his name is Luke Oliver, and he was the winner of a contest that rewarded him with a face render in the game. A few more points of interest can be found at the cell of Clayface. If you are unsure of who this person is, the big yellow warning sign is a big clue, as it states that the inmate can impersonate other people. Using detective mode reveals Clayface has no skeleton, and if you scan him while he's the warden, he'll respond to Batman.
So, you've discovered my true face, detective. Please keep it a secret.
And the Lady Mannequin is a reference to the comic version named Helena, whom Clayface 3 Preston Payne, not Basil Carlo, was in love with. Calendar Man's cell is covered with paper that have certain dates on them, and may refer to the Long Halloween, where Batman tries to find out who the holiday killer is by seeking the help of Julian Day. While trying to rescue the guards here, Harley will react to different things you do. One of the rarer reactions will happen if you blow up the wall here and enter the secret area.
You may get through eventually, Bats, but do you really think those poor guards can wait? A girl can have hours with fun with a toy like that. Another gadget? What does it do? What does it do? What's there? What's behind there? I can't see.
Back in the main cell block, Harley will direct Batman toward her location, but you don't have to rush there. In fact, by messing around and going in the wrong direction, you can provoke different responses from her.
That's right, B-Man, you're getting closer. Hey, where you going? I'm over here. stupid, misguided fool with delusions of grandeur. You're also going in the wrong direction. What kind of dumbass are you? I'm over here! Are you stupid?
In the controlled access area is Harvey Dent's cell. What's interesting about it is the way the room is split into two halves to reflect his damaged psyche. After defeating Harley Quinn in the extreme incarceration chamber, Batman discovers her party list, or rather, potential candidates for the Titan Project: Catwoman, Two-Face, Mad Hatter, Clayface, Killer Croc, Penguin, the ventriloquist, and the contest winner Luke Oliver. The smiley faces next to Clayface and Killer Croc suggests that Joker had a special interest in testing the Titan out on them, even more than the others. In the centre of the botanical glasshouse is the statue of the Archangel Michael, who is holding a spear toward a monster. This is based from a Sirius house on Sirius Earth, as the statue is seen in this graphic novel, and Batman even uses the spear in his battle against Killer Croc. When first stepping inside the generator room, you can hear a group of thugs talking. One of them is called Higo, who is named after David Higo, the art director for the game.
The Bat. I'm not scared of the Bat. You see Higo over there? He has a thing for blades.
The first Poison Ivy interview tape you collect mentions a scientist by the name of Jason Woodrow, who's the supervillain Floronic Man and has fought various members of the Justice League.
My destiny.
Are you referring to the event with Dr. Woodrow?
Yes. What else? Of course, at the time I thought Jason had poisoned me. But in retrospect, he did me a huge favor.
What happens in the flooded corridor with the Joker depends on the gamer's choice. If the power hasn't been cut when entering this area, then the video cutscene of Joker killing a guard plays out. But if instead you enter the generator room to cut the power, then the Joker encounter in the flooded corridor plays a little differently. The only real difference is no guard gets killed. A unique moment happens in the abandoned chamber that you can miss if you decide to exit the area through the other door without exploring. When entering for the first time, while Joker is heard experimenting on his henchmen, if Batman makes his way behind the waterfall, then one of Joker's failed experiments will drop close by. By the door that leads into the aviary is another reference to a Sirius house on Sirius Earth. The statue of Arkham's wife Constance is seen beheaded and heavily marked, and refers to the horrific moment Amadeus returned home to discover the brutal carving and beheading of his wife and daughter, in a similar manner as the statue by Mad Dog. The cutscene in the Titan production facility shows a bunch of crates in an elevator with notes to whom they're getting sent to. In the Return to Arkham game, they're all for Penguin, to match the events of Arkham City, as Penguin does have tanks full of it, while the original release back in 2009 had various names on each of the crates. After leaving the botanical gardens, the next step is to find Killer Croc's lair. Best way to find it is to ask guard Cash in the Arkham Mansion, but doing so would mean dealing with a bunch of Joker's henchmen and a sniper to enter the intensive treatment building. Whereas, if you know where to go, you don't have to visit Cash, and you have no henchman or sniper to deal with, as they never appear. In the nightmare sequence back in intensive treatment, Joker supposedly kills Batman, resulting in the game over screen. But on this occasion, if you chose to quit the game, then you'll still continue with the story. Hidden between the two elevators in the secure transit room is another Riddler trophy location to scan, and it's none other than Scarecrow's lair. But what's interesting is it does offer some insight into where he's been throughout most of the game. These computer images show Batman escorting the Joker at the start of the game, and Scarecrow may have been close by all along, and the photos suggest he's been following Batman all over the island, which just adds another layer of creepy to the Scarecrow. A reference to the Killing Joke can be found on the desk in this room. This says, "You don't have to be mad to work here, but it certainly helps." Another location can be found back in the patient pacification chamber. This old prison cell used to belong to the supervillain Maxi Zeus, who's obsessed with Greek mythology and believes he is Zeus himself reincarnated. One of his drawings on the wall is of the world, and written next to it, it reads, "Maxi Zeus to rule Earth." Though his cell is covered in symbols from ancient Greece, oddly, there's also an Eye of Ra, which is Egyptian, and his cell being placed in the pacification chamber may be a reference to a Sirius house on Sirius Earth. As in the graphic novel, it suggests that he may have had a dependency on electroshock therapy. The patient interview tapes about Harley Quinn have a lot of dialogue pulled straight from the one-shot comic The Batman Adventures Mad Love that Paul Dini co-writ.
Doc's outputting. Say hello to your new and improved Harley Quinn.
At the bottom of the elevator shaft in Secure Transit, you can discover how Killer Croc gets his food delivered, and even see his weekly food menu on the wall. A tasteless joke from one of the guards can be found in this room, as one of the lockers has a picture of Killer Croc's hand with the words scratched onto it, "Hands off my locker," which could be a nod to the fact guard Aaron Cash lost one of his hands to Croc when it was bit off. At the end of the Killer Croc segment in the sewers, he will jump out of the water and run toward Batman. Though you will get nothing out of it, I thought it would be worth a mention that you can still throw a batarang at his collar, and Croc will briefly stop. I even tried to punch him, the game wouldn't let me, but it was worth a try. Back in the Botanical Gardens, on the wall next to the damaged statue, is something very strange. As you can see, it looks like some kind of creature of unknown origin. I haven't found it elsewhere. It doesn't attack you, and it disappears if attacked, only to pop its head out later, like nothing happened. Perhaps it was something in the beta version that was scrapped. Once you've collected most of the Riddler's trophies, Batman will locate his origin of broadcast and send the police to arrest him at 225 O'Neill Avenue, Old Gotham. This is a nod to comic writer Dennis O'Neill. If you've made it this far, then thank you for watching and I hope you liked it. If this video is well received, then I could do Arkham City, including all the side missions and DLC. And if you haven't yet, please show your support by liking, sharing and subscribing so you can stay up to date on future content like this. So next I'll be doing Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, and then the Voter's Choice game, and then of course TR Legends. So until the next video. Bye guys.